diarrhea being my friend. You know how wonderful diarrhea was, and if you didn't catch it, do so, because you at this moment you're going to think I'm crazy. But diarrhea is wonderful because it helps preserve your bowel. So you'll have to listen to it. I promised I'd come right back and do a show about the Twinkies. You know, everybody's crazy about the Twinkies. You know, hashtag Twinkies. You know, websites popping up all over the place. Gastrointestinal issues, Twinkies. Twinkies are the manna if you've got an inflammatory bowel condition. Once you've healed, you know, you've done my GI cure, and you don't have a problem anymore, you don't need the Twinkies. But the Twinkies are the perfect food for if you have inflammatory bowel. You know, most people, when a child or themselves are diagnosed with that IBS class Crohn's, they go right down to the grocery store and buy mounds of produce. We're going to get healthy, we're going to juice it, we're going to eat nothing but peas all day, and we're going to do all that. Well, that's wrong. The worst thing you can do, you want to go on a low-fiber diet temporarily, just temporarily, because you have patches in your bowel that are lacking the mucosal lining, so it leaves tissue exposed, and you know, it's not covered up like it's supposed to be. And then here comes a salad. You think you chewed it well. If you saw what a salad looked like under a microscope, it looks like pins and needles or broken glass, and it feels like that to the bowel. So when you have inflammatory bowel, it's because you don't have enough mucosal lining, and your own acids are eating away at the skin, fat, and muscle, digging holes in there. So we know that's happening. But what else is happening is that it's causing acidity through the whole body, and you can chronically get you know, arthritis and, you know, headaches and a lot of things that go away when you fix the GI problem. But Twinkies are just, it came to me. I was in the grocery store, you know, and I'm standing in line, and you've got all the junky Trident gum, and you got everything you can name, all kinds of junky crap looking you in the face while you're standing there. And then I saw Twinkies. I said, gee, I haven't had those for years. Used to love them. And while I'm waiting, I'm reading the label, and it's a disaster. And then it comes to the one good thing. It's no fiber. Do you know how hard it is to find something that really has no fiber? So I called the company and said, you kidding me? No fiber? Man, this is fantastic. How long have you had been no fiber? All this time I didn't know. But I was eating them, so I was getting the benefit even though I didn't know. That's the way nature can work. Ignorance is bliss, right? So I called around. I looked at the packages first, and I called around, you know, Double Dogs, and asked them why they had 0.75, you know, less than 1 gram, and they were, they didn't know. They had no idea what was in the product, and they all had just, you know, a little bit, except for the Twinkies. And so, what's so wonderful about them? The low fiber. When you are, I had just said it, but I want to emphasize this. The food doesn't cause these problems. The food can scrape your membrane wall of your bowel if there's no coverage. And then the body says, we don't like that. We don't want you to drag your ass all the way down our ass and cause all this pain and discomfort. So it dumps a lot of water into the bowel to float the thing out, the salad out, so it doesn't drag all the way down. And that's diarrhea. That can happen every time you eat until you get it fixed, which I can do. And so we had a contest. People saying, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. I said, you know, I said, what food do you want to eat? He said, I can eat apples. I'm going to try eating an apple. I said, you know, let's bet a nickel. And we did it, you know, we just told a bunch of people, eat the apples. You guys all have colitis and stuff? Eat some apples here. Leroy says apples. Tell us tomorrow how it went. Of course, apples have a lot of fiber, and I'm telling people don't eat the foods with high fiber until you get it fixed. And so the next day it comes in, the results, about 30 people, and they all said it was a disaster. They hadn't eaten anything like that in a long time, and he said to eat and try them, and it was a disaster. What was the problem? In the bathroom all night, still going. And so then I said, I'll tell you what, let's go for it. Everybody eat Twinkies tonight. The funny part is I think we had 30-something people eat the apples. We had like 193 eating Twinkies. And everybody I said smooth sailing with the Twinkies. No problems. So I said, don't eat any more because you'll probably drop dead. I don't want to be liable. But for that one-timer trip was thumbs down for the apples. Why? Because they have a lot of fiber, pectin fiber, and they'll drag over wherever you don't have enough mucosal lining protecting it, and that brings on the water to reduce the inflammation, and that brings on diarrhea, and you're going to be wondering, am I lactose intolerant or something? And so what happens is that the Twinkie doesn't have any fiber, it goes down nice and smooth. The salad, all the healthy foods have a lot of fiber. So a comment about food in general away from the Twinkies is, when we have inflammatory bowel, don't waste your time on all the other stuff. It's as simple as what you've already discovered on your own. Low fiber. Almost everybody I talk to that has inflammatory bowel, they say they've discovered that to some degree. They can't have A, B, C, and D. All those are fiber foods. Heating breaks down the fiber, so you can eat anything cooked. The stuff I just said, don't eat that, let's cook it. Eat it, eat double, eat twice as much. Because heat breaks down the fiber. So the other thing, you can put it in a blender. Just say you know, I don't know how everybody eats kale, yeah. So all you people feel as though you're missing out on your leafy greens and you want to eat the kale, you can put it in another little gadget that's been around for how long? I think it came out the time the microwave came out. A blender. And people buy all the fancy ones, most of them are collecting dust. You take any raw fruit or vegetable and you say, well, I want the raw stuff. I want the enzymes. Put it in the blender and make a smoothie out of it. You know, it scares me. I prescribe some yucky type herbal drinks. And, not a lot of fun to drink slippery almond marshmallow root and L-glutamine, but it heals like hell. So I get people telling me, oh yeah, I drank the stuff, it was fantastic. I know the guy didn't drink the stuff. But things like marshmallow root, slippery elm, they have a terrible texture, but they're amazingly good for healing. So to get back to the subject of the Twinkies, don't have the fiber. The body wants some bulk. It needs something moving through there so it picks up its peristaltic motion and gets strong again. Fiber will be restricted only while you're still having these significant symptoms, because the rest of this GI cure protocol heals it. We just need to jump into an emergency measure. Might not be emergency to some people, but I'm not from the rural areas where everybody has cows. It reminds me, I tell this thing every time I talk. It's fantastic. The key to this whole thing, healing all this, is colostrum. It's key. So get used to me talking about it out of context. You name it, I talk to my friends, hate colostrum. They go, we were just talking about trucks. And so colostrum is a sticky stuff that comes from the every mammal's breast when the child is born. So when I endeavored to figure out all this stuff 40 years ago, sitting on a stone wall next to a farm where the cows were out, and obviously they've been mating. I don't know how long of a pregnancy they have, but over the course of time, me going to that same place, baby was born, feeding within minutes, right? And when it does it early on, it gets that colostrum. So you guys already know that. So colostrum is used because it helps bind the probiotic to the bowel wall, so it stays, residential stays there. Also, it's anabolic. It helps repair tissue. So if you're going to repair a certain pace, say it was a month, use colostrum. You can heal, repair your wounds in half the time. So it's very, very valuable. I saw a guy, seen it done twice, where a guy was watching the cows too, and just after the birth, the guy ran over and slid under the cow and started sucking on the udder. I saw it, and I've seen it twice in the same place. I don't know if they knew each other. It kind of freaked me out a little bit, what the hell are you doing? But that's the magic stuff right there. That's the magic stuff. There's a company called Survival. I don't know if they're still in business. They're a bunch of hippie guys, young guys, and they're really into colostrum. And they can answer more questions if they're in Canada. No, maybe not. They're somewhere out in the woods or something. A bunch of hippies. Survival is that you buy a bucket of colostrum. Like I think it's harvested within the hour. Or harvest them from your wife or something. I don't know. The question I came up with, I don't know if anyone's going to be able to answer this. We know about wet nursing. You know, wet nursing. The Civil War, the wealthy slave owner wives, lazy, I'll call them bitches, I guess. They were, they're just bad as their husbands. Owning people, give me a break. They were lazy. They give their babies off to, what we call them now, a babysitter, to women, the slaves. And they say, here, you take care of them for the day, and they would nurse them. You know, that if a baby starts sucking on a breast with a woman who wasn't even pregnant, didn't give the birth, eventually they get milk. My question is, do they get colostrum? They must. Nature doesn't make mistakes. The reason they want colostrum, the reason the colostrum comes out first is because it needs to go in the gut, stick to the lining of the gut, and then the probiotics that are in the breast milk stick to the colostrum. So it has to be. I think I answered my question. But I got to find out for sure. I might have to do a little wet nursing myself. It's terrible to think about, but I'm that kind of guy. I'm not like I go up there and just take on the challenges. So I might have to do a little wet nursing and just a commentary too about these people who are like, I hate to do this sometimes, but think about this. People out there are racist, right? But they were injecting the breast milk from these black women, and these people were ingesting it, and they were growing up, and they were thinking they were white. If you're ingesting that, you're getting the genes and stuff. You got some of that person's body in you, and so how ridiculous it is to think you're separate from anybody. And so this is a subject I kind of thought of on my own. I don't know if I'm the only one that's ever thought of it, but I think about colostrum a lot because it's so key. And any circumstance where a mammal gives birth to a child, there's colostrum present, under any circumstance. So it's got to be true about wet nursing. Sorry I went off on that rant. I don't think anyone else in the world cares about that. But when your life is committed to colostrum, I guess that's what you do. So anyways, thanks for listening. I'll be back with some more audio clips.